Hey, what's up? What's up? It's your girl Erica, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Monday and happy new month. It is already the month of June, so which means we are 6 months into this year. I can't believe it. I don't know about you guys, but I can't believe it. It's like time is flying by. I might as well just say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you guys already because that's where we're headed. I mean, time is just flying by. But anyway, I'm here to do my weekly recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I hope that you are ready to let's get into the mess. It was, let me be honest, guys, it was kind of like a boring episode, although they were going on their trip. It was, to me, I think I even have it written down. I don't even know if you could probably see it, but that was like my last note here. So the episode was boring. But anyway, let's get into it. Of course, this is season 16, episode 13. And it was called Reset. That was it. So the opening scene, and let me just say this. I don't even want to call this episode Reset. The episode is actually called Everybody Hates Drew, because that's exactly what's happening, or that's what's been happening. That's the theme of this particular season. It's called Pile Up on Drew. You know how you play Uno and you pile on, pile on, pile on. That's what they're doing. The episode is called Everyone Hates Drew, but the whole name of the game is called Pile on Drew, and that's what's happening. But the opening scene was with Kelli and Shamia and Brett. Of course, Kelli and Shamia told us last week that they wanted to do something for the hurricane victims in Grenada. They're going to Grenada. So they wanted to do something for the hurricane victims, which I thought was a really, really good idea. Of course, we saw little Shia, Shamia's oldest daughter. She was a little concerned that mommy was giving away too many of her things, but I'm glad that Shamia kind of told her, that, hey, you have to give away stuff. And then Shia started getting into it as time went on. She even started packing up her things and making sure, once she became part of the whole process, I think Shia was pretty cool with it, because I think she felt good about packing up her own box. But Shamia had quite a few boxes in her garage. Kelli brought over some things, and of course Kelli sort of smoothed Shia over and gave her a hug, and then they got busy. Britt came over with things. I think Drew, her things were dropped off. Angela's things were dropped off. Britt came over with, I think, 3 rolls of toilet paper. And maybe a couple of other things. I don't really know. She pretended that she got this phone call from Shamia at the very last minute, and that she didn't have time, but the rest of her things were on the way. Shamia kindly reminded her that, of course, that the truck that was going to pick up everything would be there in about an hour or less than an hour. So she hoped that she had time to get the rest of her things. Britt is just not a giver like that. Let's just say that, because Britt could have actually bought some things. Britt is not a giver. Britt has been stunting and lying and pretending this entire season. I don't know how she got on the show. I love Britt's hair. Every time I see her, I just love her hair. But that's all I can really say about Britt as far as how much I like her. I like her hair. I really love her hair. But Britt is a flop. She doesn't want to give. She just wants to be pretty and come into the scene and cause a little ruckus, or just make sure that no one is attacking her, and that's it. So she really doesn't fit in. So of course, that was just the opening scene. And also, I'm sorry, I didn't want to leave out Cynthia. Cynthia also had some things dropped off at Drew's house. I'm sorry, at Shamia's house. I think Portia said she just gave a donation. But it's all good. That's what this episode was really all about. It wasn't really a whole lot. So again, that was the opening scene. Portia and Drew met up. Of course, Portia had nothing but criticisms for Drew. She talked about her hair. Now, Portia already told us that Drew was no longer an ambassador of Go Naked Hair. Drew had on maybe like a blonde wig or something like that. Portia was like it was some type of blend. It definitely wasn't her normal hair. Now, we know Portia's hair always looks really good. Portia's hair is fabulous. I can't take that away from her. Drew, her style has somewhat improved this season. I know, personally, I didn't particularly care for this wig on Drew. Drew is a person that she can wear multiple colors as well. She can wear blonde hair, but I just didn't particularly like that particular wig. But I know Portia was going to shade her because, of course, Portia has to make it seem like there's something wrong with Drew, and she's perfect. So, perfect Portia finally met with Drew. They met at it looks like it was like maybe like a little tea shop. And Drew was saying she needed something because she was getting hoarse. Of course, the conversation proceeds, and Portia was just saying, of course, she wanted to lay it all on Drew and saying that, Drew, you never contacted me. You're the one, and you're the one that wants to keep this going on. Drew hit her with the facts. Drew said, I tried to reach out to you. This conversation is long overdue. I've been trying to talk to you for a while. Basically, you haven't wanted to communicate with me at all. So this is why we are here. Then Portia tried to nail. So at first, Portia was saying that Drew was actually messing with Dennis. Now she's coming out saying that Dennis is telling her that Drew is messing with the other producer by the name of Black. Well, sidebar. Okay, now I'm starting to have a problem. Dennis needs to come clean and say that Portia's a liar, because Portia said that Portia said that Dennis told her initially that Drew was trying to sleep with him for beats and trying to sleep with him to pay for studio time. Now Portia comes back and says that Dennis told her that she's messing with the guy Black. Okay. I don't know if Dennis is doing this or not. I'm kind of 50-50 with it. I know that Dennis is a liar too. Both of them are liars. Both Portia and Dennis are liars. So I can't really tell who's actually telling the biggest lie. I don't know if Portia made it up, or I don't know if Dennis told her that just to get Portia off of his back. But either way, they're both lying. This is my thing. Portia's also going through a divorce either. Portia made it clear, oh, you can date, while you're getting a divorce. Yes, but this is somewhat of a messy divorce. And I don't really see Drew she's already having issues with Ralph, not wanting to leave the house and wanting to get her, her attorney recused, and them having to start the whole divorce proceedings or process over. So I don't see Drew actually messing that up. Of course, she's human. She may want to talk to someone. She may want to go out on a date. But I think Drew is being very, very cautious during this time because she doesn't want to mess anything up. And Portia should know that, because Portia's also going through with Simon. Portia knows that she cannot make any missteps with Simon because they are going through a divorce. Anything that Portia does could be held or used against her. And so Portia should understand that. But it just goes to show how petty Portia is and how she really just wants to make Drew look bad. Because in actuality, if anyone can understand what Drew is going through, it would be Portia. Drew understands what Portia's going through, but Drew is at the point like, you have tried to embarrass me, ridicule me, and make me look like a bad person. So I'm not going to extend, my support to you. I'm not going to extend my heart to you just to show you that I do understand and lend that, friendly support because of what you've done. So, Portia tried to hit her with the whole, well, you're dating Black. Well, Drew said, well, I heard that you're dating Future. And Portia was like, you could tell she was a little taken aback, but she said she denied it. But in true Portia fashion, she got up and left, and she said she can't deal with it. She felt like it was just too much. She felt like nothing was being accomplished, and so she got up and left. And Drew was like, okay, I see where you're coming from. I see why Simon wants to divorce you. And I see why Shamia now wants to forego the friendship as well. Because Portia is all about Portia. And I think everyone is seeing that, whether they want to admit it or not. So we go on. The girls are packing for Grenada. That was just, little scenes and montages with them. Nothing big or nothing, exclusive or any really interesting at that point. The girls meet up at the airport. This is what I didn't like. Immediately, Angela said, well, I like what Angela said. Angela said, I've heard things about Phaedra, but I want to get to know Phaedra for myself. I'm going to go on with like the positive attitude and just, try to, see, she seems like a fun girl, and I want to have fun with her. Okay, and now we go to Phaedra. Phaedra says that Angela is the oldest looking young person that she's ever seen. Okay, I will say this, Angela, I do think that Angela is a little older than what she said. I don't know if they told her to actually lie about her age. I think they say Angela's 43. She could be 43. I'm not taking anything away from Angela because I think Angela looks really good for whatever age she is, but I did assume that Angela was a little older. But I just don't like when the girls just criticize people's ages and how they look all the time. I mean, Phaedra, you have been criticized a lot for your look. You changed a whole lot. Thank you. Shout out to LTV Productions, who already, he did his review and I just happened to catch it this morning. And like he was saying, you know, Phaedra looks like she's bleaching, and I do agree with him. She looks like she's bleaching. Phaedra's mom was like a brown or a light brown skinned lady. Well, I'm going to say brown. She was more of a brown skinned lady. Phaedra is almost like lighter than her mother at this point. Phaedra came on this show. She was a dark skinned woman, and there's absolutely nothing wrong when you have beautiful dark skin. Phaedra looks like a totally different person. She's had a lot of surgery. She's had a lot of work done. She doesn't even look like the same person. So, you know, I don't have a problem with, you know, plastic surgery. Hey, do what you want to do. You know, if you feel like if you don't really care for the way you look and you want to improve your look, by all means, if you have the money to do it, do it. But at the same time, too, I just don't like to see you meet a person and the first thing you do is like judge their looks and all of it. I just thought Phaedra was like a little off with that. To me, that's very superficial. And I really did not like her doing that. But of course, that's Phaedra. We know that Phaedra's going to throw her shade. We know Phaedra to be a shade assassin. And she's going to even say some funny things along the way. I'm not going to say I'm not going to ever chuckle or laugh at Phaedra, because Phaedra is going to say something that's going to make me laugh. Phaedra sometimes can be a lot of fun and she does make you laugh. But then at the same time, I think just with the way she came into the show, we know that she's Team Portia. She's already sort of chosen her side. She has like these inherited beefs with, you know, she inherited it from Portia, you know, like, you know, now she's beefing with Drew and Angela. So we can see where she's already aligning with, instead of just sort of playing neutral. It doesn't mean she can't take up for her friend, but she's already sort of showing who she's throwing shade at. And those are the two people. So Phaedra, I got my good eye on you. I don't know. I hope you come back. I know you're going to come back next season, and I hope that when you come back, of course, it's always going to be freaking frack, but I just hope that we can see a lot more of you, and you not sort of sucking up and kissing up to Portia and doing everything that Portia wants you to do. That's what I want to see. So the girls make it to Grenada. Grenada looks beautiful from what we saw. It looked really beautiful. I would love to see a little more of the actual country, but looked beautiful nonetheless. So of course, you know, they were talking and they get their rooms and they were sort of sitting down eating. And of course, so Britt and Phaedra are sharing a room. Angela and Portia are sharing a room. And Drew and Cynthia are sharing a room. But of course, Shamina and Kelli kind of set it up. There was like a numbers game where they threw back shots, but they say that Cynthia grabbed the first one. So of course, Cynthia and Drew, how ironic, got sort of like the worst room. Although they had their own separate bedrooms, one of the bedrooms actually has two twin beds, and I'm just a little tired of that whole scenario. I know that they can find, you know, a villa or, you know, an Airbnb or a home that has you know, I guess you would say like nice accommodations for everyone. Of course, we know that when these people have homes, they do want to make accommodations for children and stuff like that. But again, it's still kind of like, okay, why in the world does, you know, Drew always get the bad room? And I think Drew, you know, Drew and Cynthia sort of arm wrestle for the room. But at the same time, I just think that Drew just did not want to give Cynthia, you know, that room with the two beds. After she saw Cynthia's room, she was like, oh my God, I should have kept the room. But Drew was always like a pretty good sport about that, so I can appreciate that. So Shamina told them to get themselves together, and of course for them to get ready for dinner. So of course, as they rode to dinner, and they even had a talk. Cynthia and Drew had a talk, and Drew was telling her that she met up with Portia. And of course, you know, Cynthia was listening, but Cynthia goes with the win. I did not like how Cynthia has an allegiance to Portia. I know that she's been on the show with Portia for many, many years, but I think Cynthia has just taken a blind allegiance to Portia. She acts like she likes Drew, but then there's something there where she's always kind of taking someone else's side against Drew. Drew told her the truth. Drew said, okay, hey, Portia was mad with me about meeting up with or working with Dennis, but then she purposely went and met up with Ralph, and they had dinner with Ralph. So Cynthia kind of just said, oh, well, you're even or whatever. No, not necessarily. Because see, now what you're doing is you're doing an eye for an eye. And that lets you know that what Portia did, it was purposely done. Portia is not working with Ralph. Drew and Dennis actually worked on a full project, and it's called I Did This to Me, where you can go to Amazon or Spotify or any, and download her music. You can tell that it was something real. What Ralph, Shamina, and Portia were talking about had absolutely nothing to do with business. They actually just met up just to get back at Drew. So I didn't really care for Cynthia sort of taking taking Portia's side in that. I didn't like her attitude about it, and that's why I think that honestly, Marlo would be a better friend of the Housewives, because Marlo will not necessarily take sides all the time, and I'm tired of Cynthia doing that. I think Cynthia does not need to come back for season 16. So the girls, they go to their rooms. Okay, of course, they get ready. They're headed to dinner. And of course, Shamina is still angry with Drew. So, of course, this is the pile on once again at the dinner table for Drew. Kelli makes a statement that everyone except for Cynthia has an issue with Drew. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Drew doesn't have an issue with Angela. Drew doesn't have an issue with Phaedra. Phaedra she literally just probably met Phaedra hours before this. And Kelli and Britt really shouldn't have an issue with Drew either. Unless you guys, you can remind me in the comments of why they would be angry with Drew, but I really don't get it. So Kelli was saying that she wants the girls to sort of reset things and, let this be a new beginning and all of that. And so, of course, Shamina wants to get into it. Kelli was saying, basically, I think you were wrong. You said something to, you tweeted something about Shamina. Well, first of all, if Shamina had not gone to the radio station at V103 with Big Tigger talking about Drew, Drew wouldn't have ever had to even tweet anything. I think that it's a double standard in this group, and I'm really getting tired of it. And that's why I said season 16 is a flop, and I'm glad that this season is almost over, because what we always enjoyed about the Real Housewives of Atlanta, there was always beef between the girls. There was always some kind of feud, whether it was from the beginning, Nene and Kim or Nene and Sheree, and then the group may have been divided. It was sort of half and half. We had the Talls versus the Smalls. We've had these beefs, amongst the girls. Even when Phaedra and Kenya had a beef for years, the group was still divided. It wasn't a pile on. It really, really wasn't. I think even when, Kenya, it was rumored that Kenya wasn't going to come back because all the girls were angry with Kenya. Eventually, they got back to where they needed to be. So my thing is I don't understand why everyone is so angry with Drew. And like I said, the beefs and the feuds are unwarranted. Kelli, you have an unwarranted beef with Drew. Britt, you have an unwarranted beef with Drew. Phaedra, you have an unwarranted beef with Drew. Cynthia, like I said, you just going whichever way the wind blows, but regardless of what, is unwarranted because you've never had an issue with Drew. And that's what I don't like. I'm sick and tired. It's not about reads. It's just about sticking to the facts. But I really wanted Drew to whack all of them and tell them exactly that. You're whack, because you guys are so pressed for Portia's approval that you're willing to go against me, not even fully understanding the story. If you were in my shoes, you probably would have reacted the exact same way that I did. But again, because you're so pressed for Portia's approval, that you're just going to have a beef with me for no reason. And you look stupid and immature, and I don't want to have anything to do with you. And guess what? When Portia comes after you, then don't come crying to me about it. And so the girls were sitting at the table. Portia and Drew started talking about their issues again. Of course, Phaedra jumps in saying, well, here's the deal. You have to understand that, Shamia was going to take up for Portia because that's her friend and yada, yada, yada. We know that. We understand that. But what I like that Angela did, Angela came right back and whacked all of them and said, you know what, Shamia, your issue is with Portia, and you were also the one telling us your issues with Portia. Had you not said anything, we would not have even known. And I'm glad that Angela said that, because Shamia wanted to sit there and she just wanted to make it seem like she was this great BFF. It doesn't matter what Drew said. Okay, if Drew threw a little shade by saying the way she said it, guys, let's be clear. The only reason why you're saying that what Drew said is wrong is because you really don't care for her. When they showed the clip of Drew saying, we are working and this music is going to pay for PJ's college or her college fund, there really was no ill intent in that. But if you want to say that, okay, cool. Even if you felt like it was wrong, the point of the matter is we know that Shamina played it up far more than she had to. Just like when Shamia told them to pinky swear and she was telling them about how angry she was with Portia or whatever the case may be. They could have come back to Portia and said, basically, Shamia tore you down. She doesn't even like you. She really doesn't want to be your friend or whatever the case may be. The only thing Angela said was that Shamia has been a little angry with you. So that's my thing. People, you're taking it too far. You're dragging this out and you're carrying it on too far. And like I said, I'm tired of the everybody hates Drew episodes of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we get back to, the conversation, and Kelly's trying to reel it back in. But Kelli, again, like I said, I've never had an issue with you. But Kelli, the same way that you jumped on Portia and was saying you stole some lady's husband, well, okay, Kelli, why didn't you, turn the ties and ask Phaedra? You up there, hey, Faye, why didn't you say, well, Faye, you're back, but did you ever have a conversation with Kandi? Did you ever apologize to Kandi like you're back in this group? Did you and Portia ever sit down and really have a one-on-one conversation about it? And how did you come to that resolution? I would rather for Kelli to do that than to jump on everybody else's side against Drew. Kelli, I thought you had your own mind, and when you came out swinging at Portia, I was a little happy about that, because I felt like you had your own mind and you were showing that you weren't afraid to go against the grain. But now I see you jump right in line with everybody else, because that could have been, you could have easily asked Portia and Phaedra how they became friends again. But nonetheless, like I said, we're here at another boring episode of Everybody Hates Drew. So that was pretty much the episode. Portia said that she did kind of tell Drew, and I think Portia's realizing how wrong she was, because she said, well, she did use the wrong words when she was speaking about Drew and Dennis's situation. And Drew did apologize to Portia and said, if you felt like I should have called you earlier or extended, sort of told you about it or texted you or really reached out to you, then I apologize about that. So they were able to move on from that. But the point of the matter is that everybody knows that Drew is working on a project, including Shamina. But again, this is Portia's show. These are, everybody just wants to follow the leader, which is Portia Williams. And so even if that means that we have to basically be a jerk or a BI to someone who really doesn't deserve it, that's what we're going to do. And so then Britt said, to end it up, Britt said, well, Phaedra, I just want to let you know that Apollo and his wife attended an event with Mike. They actually showed up. And Phaedra was like, okay, girl, he's married to somebody else. I really don't care. So I just thought that Britt, again, really didn't even understand why she brought that up, because it was so irrelevant to the conversation. But she wanted to feel like she was a part, because she's really not part of this group. She really doesn't fit in. But she thought, well, let me say that to make, kind of ease things, but at the same time, so I can fit in. So that was the episode, guys. Like I said, if you can see my notes right here, it says boring episode. I really have nothing else. Like I said, I'm really tired of the pile on with Drew. I know that we're toward the end of the season. I hope these girls can really have some fun in Grenada. And stop focusing on Drew. I want them to have some other conversations, i.e. Britt's event, that week event that she planned, that week and whack event that she planned. That definitely needs to be a topic of conversation. Portia and Shamia's friendship, that can also be a topic of conversation. But Drew, we're tired of it. It's episode 13. You guys have been harping on her for 13 episodes. Let it go. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you didn't think I was fussing too much. I tried not to, but that is honestly the way I feel. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment, please. Let me know what you think. Did you think it was a good episode? Maybe you thought it was a great episode. How do you feel about the whole pile on about Drew? How do you really feel about Phaedra coming back into the group? Do you feel like she really, is a part of this group, or, are you happy that freaking Fracker back? Let me know. And stay tuned. I'll see you next time. But again, like I said, thanks you so much for all of your support. I want to say, I've been doing this now for about 6 months. This is something very new for me. I like doing it. I really wasn't going to even do it today, but I just wanted to be sort of consistent with me doing the videos, because like I said, I didn't like the episode. But you guys, I hope that you really, really enjoy my content. I hope you like my reviews, and like I said, just let me know. It's kind of like a 6-month review. Tell me how I'm doing. Let me know. Even tell me like, hey, maybe you can cut your videos short, or whatever the case may be. I really don't mind, but I would like to have your perspective on it. So again, have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you really, really soon. Bye, guys.